Well, hello and welcome to Great Starts from Day One to Day to Day, our coaching session on making a great first impression when going to that all important job interview. While many of you here today are pursuing your high school equivalency credential for a number of different reasons, self-esteem, pride, sense of accomplishment, I think a lot of us would agree that a major driving force in pursuing this goal is a better job and a promising career path. And we want to help get you started right on the right foot, right from the beginning. We often say that your success is our goal, and one big way we can help is for you to prepare for what's to come in this next exciting venture that you take. Any successful job search will eventually take you through an interviewing process. And this is a time for you to present your best self and show why you are a great fit for the job at hand. And we're going to help you with some of those tools today. My name's Jen Denton. I'm your student success coach here at Essential Education, part of our fun and productive student success team. And we are here to help you. You know, the interviewing process and the idea of making that good first impression can be a really nerve-wracking exercise. Just like some face test anxiety, others, I think, with good reason, face interview anxiety or job search fears. But we're going to address some of those head on today because my philosophy, if you joined us for any of these other sessions, your anxiety is lessened with preparation. And so that's what we want to help you get ready for today. If you have any specific questions as we go along, I want to remind you to jump into our Q&A, jump into our chat. We are happy to help with any specifics as we go along. But let's start off today by looking at some of those major stumbling blocks. What causes that nerve-wracking to ensue? What causes that nervous energy to come about? And I think there's two key stumbling blocks when it comes to making a first impression. And the first one is just flat out thinking too much. Stressing or panicking and thinking you have to be something or someone that you just don't think that you are can put a lot of extra pressure on yourself. And so it can lead you to overthinking the situation, causing too much pressure, too much stress. You can't have clear thoughts. You aren't expressing yourself clearly. And so it just becomes this big circle of you're nervous about making a good first impression, and you don't make such a good first impression because you're so nervous about thinking about making that first impression. It's a lot to consider. So I think sometimes just flat out thinking too much can get in our way. And then the opposite of that, not thinking enough, can get in our way. We talked in this session already and in so many of our other sessions that one way to really ease fear or really ease any concern you have about either a testing situation, a study session that's coming up, a practice test that's coming up, or even a job interview that's coming up, ways to ease that tension is to prepare, to know what's coming. But not putting enough preparation or thought into that when it comes to making that good first impression can really hold you back. It can really leave you reeling in a situation where if you just thought through one or two steps before going into that interview process, you would have been able to better make your mark. And that's what this is all about. Whenever you go into an interview or make a first impression, you want to be remembered, and you want to be remembered for positive things, obviously. So we're going to break the ice today by watching a short video, and we're going to see how this young man makes his mark. This video is called, "Do You Have the Skills to Pay the Bills?" And it comes from the Department of Labor, and it's going to be a little silly, but we're going to watch it today and then discuss our friend here.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any? Positive attitude, enthusiasm, that's the problem. Now time. Why? Positive enough. Find out more. Log on to our website.
All righty. And that government website is actually a really good place for just valuable information in general. We use that as a great source for some of our research from time to time. So we can learn a lot from our goofy little friend here. We can pick up on some tips for some things to do, and whoo, my goodness, definitely some things not to do. So you may have heard the phrase, put your best foot forward. Well, I would like to add by putting your best foot forward and make sure you're wearing the right shoes to head in the right direction. And again, we saw this young man's choice of shoes. One was more appropriate than the other. But speaking of that direction that you want to run in, the job market and career world is changing all the time. And if you want to make your mark, it's important to note the key skills that employers are looking for. So, we've talked about this in some of our other coaching sessions as well. This idea of 2020 top skills, these things that employers are looking for in employees. And we've already had coaching sessions on some of them. We've done a coaching session on problem solving. We've got one on teamwork that's coming up. And then this one on making a great first impression kind of encompasses all of these things. But problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people skills, and teamwork are all really important skills and ones that will build this model for success as you step into a new job or a new career here in this new century. And you may have noticed either in other sessions or even just in that video that we watched just now, that there are sets of hard skills. And these are technical skills that you bring to the job, certain programs, certain things that you have done, certain accomplishments in your field of study. But then there's a lot of soft skills, that ability to work well with others, that ability to put yourself forward honestly and answer questions, as our young man did. You know what? I don't have any specific experience in insurance, but I've been told that I'm a quick learner. Being able to be flexible, being able to be teachable, those are all soft skills that go into these important pillars of problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people skills, and teamwork. On a side note, we're going to be focusing on these skills in additional coaching sessions, and you can always check out tips and tricks on our e-board as well. It's a good idea to think through these skills and think about the ones that come naturally as well as the ones that you need to work on. This is a great exercise as you always want to put emphasis on those skills, how you use them, or how you will work to start to build them in putting forward your best self. Now, what does this best self mean? Well, ultimately, it's how you do your work, the talents, the skills, the expertise that you build and bring to the table. Employers want to know how you best work, your work styles, that your sense of accomplishment, the contributions that you'll make if they hire you. They also want to know how you will work with others. They want to know how you work as a team, how you cooperate, your willingness to learn, grow, and take direction. All of those soft skills, because that's the day to day, and all of those things really matter. So, what does that look like? How do you demonstrate your best self? Well, the first 10 minutes matter. We titled this session Great Starts because quite an impression can be formed in those first 10 minutes that you spend with a potential employer or coworker. A lot of things, both positive and negative, can happen in those precious moments. We definitely saw that with our friend. He did some things that he will be remembered for in a very negative way in that first version. And he did some very important things that he'll be remembered for in a very positive way in that second version. We have to remember that what we're saying is built up by more than just the words that come out of our mouth. Here's what I mean by that. Your language and what you're saying is not just about words. Remember that language is made up of two big elements. Obviously, your voice is a part of this, the words that actually come out of your mouth, but our bodies also speak volumes. All these images, all these messages that we send constantly, whether we know it or not, they all send a different message. Here's what I mean. Yes, your voice, but be your body. Let's look at this young lady, for instance. Each one of these positions that she's in sends a different message. If she slumped forward with her head on her hands in this way, she may look bored or disinterested. If she's looking off and doesn't seem really engaged in the conversation, then it can seem like her mind or her thoughts and then her importance really isn't on what's at hand. And the same thing in this picture, this daydreaming. But then look at this young lady. She's looking forward. Her eyes are bright. She's making eye contact. She's really engaging with the situation, who might be speaking to her. And there's no volume on this. There's no sound. So we can't hear words, auditory words that are coming out of her mouth. But her body language is speaking volumes. Yawning, fidgeting, slouching, chewing gum, playing with your hair, closing or shuffling your papers, adjusting your collar, fidgeting with your shoes. All of these things show disinterest and they show a lack of care for the situation at hand. I used to be in the K-12 school environment, and one of my favorite things to do was to interview high school seniors for different scholarship positions that they would be in. And I would introduce them to the scholarship interviewer, leave the room, but I would sit outside, and because of the position of my office and where the students were interviewing, I was able to observe their body language. And I was always taken aback to see some of these super smart, super well prepared students that did very, very well in the classroom go in and tank the interview because they didn't know what language their body was sending. Slouching down in the chair, not asking questions, not being prepared for what was ahead of them. Yes, they performed well in the classroom and they could study for a test, but they didn't have the people skills that they needed to share those skills well, to present this best version of themselves. So one big way that I would always encourage them as an afterthought, hey, maybe something you want to think of in the future, and one thing I want you to start to think about today to improve your verbal and nonverbal communication is to ditch the distractions. And we've already talked about some of those. If you have papers in your hand, if you're chewing gum, if you have clothes that are distracting to you, all of those things, if you allow them to, can be a distraction. But here are some of the big ones. Eye contact. If you lack eye contact, again, you're showing that your mind is on something else. You're not thinking about what's at hand. And conversely, if you are showing proper eye contact, it shows that you're interested. It shows you're engaged. It shows that you're confident. It demonstrates truth and authenticity, not only in what you're saying, but in who you are as a person. If you can speak confidently with eye contact about your skills, then this shows that you are an honest person of integrity and that you do have confidence, that you do have something to bring to the table. And if this is something you struggle with, if this is difficult for you because you do get nervous or you don't like talking about yourself or answering questions about yourself, then this may be something that you need to practice. Practice it with people that you know well, that you feel comfortable with. Practice that eye contact. Hey, how about this? Practice ordering at a restaurant. This is something I am diligent about making my kids do because we live in such a society where we're so connected by our phones. We're looking down all the time and we aren't engaging with people. Making eye contact with a server at a restaurant not only is just the right thing to do because it's rude if you don't, but then that's my personal soapbox. But it can help you to ease any discomfort that you have with making eye contact in just practicing this in small ways so that when you are in a situation where it really, really matters, you've already had some practice under your belt. Here's another one that seems obvious, but not always, and that's lose the tech. You know, you might be surprised how often this happens. We saw it with our friend in the video today. He came in with his phone, his sound was on, and he even took the call. Now, we might not take the call in the interview. That's a little bit extreme, but make sure that you silence your cell phone. Make sure you silence your smartwatch. Anything, just the noise itself, you'll have an automatic reaction to. So a move or a glance at that device is considered rude in an interview setting. And it gives this overwhelming message that the time spent to get to know you is not valuable, and thus maybe getting to know you is not valuable. It may make it appear to the job or interviewer that that job or that situation is not a priority. And for the interviewer, they may make then the conclusion that you wouldn't treat the job as a priority in the same way. So, short lesson, ditch the technology. Schedule everything around that interview, make that interview your priority. And another note to address is not only the technology, but also the coffee or the snacks. Again, it may sound silly, but it does happen. Again, those students that I would watch come into those interviews, I would see them take coffee into the interview. I've done interviews with potential employees for organizations, and they would come in with a cup of coffee or a bottle of water. You know, it may sound silly and it may be something that is a comfort to you, but again, it is a distraction. So make sure you get hydrated, make sure you fuel up before the meetup because you don't want your stomach to growl or any of those things while you're there in the interview. But both of those things will throw you off, the technology and anything you bring in. You want to be an active listener. Eye contact is a great way to show that you are actively listening to what someone is saying. Many falsely believe that listening is a passive action, that the talker's doing all the work, but that's just not true. The best listeners respond to what they're hearing with appropriate body language and then follow up questions to show that they're really interested in what the other person has to say. You know, this can include things like head nods or smiling, laughter when it's appropriate, and feedback and answering questions when it's appropriate. And you have to listen in order to respond well. This projects professionalism, this projects care, and this shows that interviewer that you're really engaged in the interview itself and that you're really wanting to learn more about the job. So, what else? What else can you do to project professionalism? Well, the first two are easy and they don't cost a thing. I love this picture of this young lady because she's got such a great example of this first one. The first one is to smile. You know, you're there to get to know someone and have them get to know you. And a smile can go a really long way in making a great first impression. It shows that you're someone worth talking to, getting to know, and it reflects something that so many people want in the job place, and that is positivity, a positive attitude. Another super important point of professionalism is promptness, being on time. We saw our interviewer in our video today really, really hacked off that the guy stumbled in late. He didn't apologize for anything. Be on time. Show that professionalism. Don't let traffic or morning chaos or alarms hold you back from showing that you can be reliable and trustworthy. And again, the interview is important to you. And the best way that you can be on time is to plan to be on time. Think through directions, travel time, again, those snacks and coffee needs that you might have, so that you have more than enough time to get to the interview with time to spare. I worked for someone one time that said early is on time and on time is late. Being punctual shows professionalism. Now, just like that body language, how you dress your body is another element that sends a message. We saw our goofy friend in ripped jeans and a hoodie there at the beginning, and then we saw him in a suit. Now, not every job interview would require a suit, would require that type of dress for an appropriate interview. Have you ever heard the phrase, dress for the job you want, not the job you have? Show your aspirations by showing if given the job that day, you could look the part. So you might need to know a little bit more about what the expectation there is on the job and then dress appropriately. If it is a more casual atmosphere, then a more casual dress might be okay. But I would always keep it simple. If you're trying to dress on a budget, just make sure that you don't go overboard. Don't go really big. Don't go really bold. Just keep it simple. Keep it neat. Make sure your clothes are neatly pressed, that nothing about you is distracting, nothing has a sound or a jingle or anything like that on it, that your jewelry's not too over the top, that your shoes are not too over the top. Just make sure that, it might involve a simple button up. It might involve classic pants. Khakis or black are always a great way to go. Steer clear of jeans. There are a lot of jobs that they do wear jeans on the job, but I would always, err on the side of caution in an interview situation where, you could steer clear of those jeans just to make that great impression. Appropriate footwear. Don't wear flip-flops. Don't wear ratty old tennis shoes, anything like that. Just, keep it simple, keep it clean. And then another big thing that a lot of people forget about is some kind of clear, clean folder to carry those extra copies of the resume in, to carry any questions that you have or any notes you would like to take. Because you don't want to be fumbling with those papers. You don't want to be fumbling with a writing utensil. And you might not have, a fancy briefcase. The job might not warrant that, but have a nice clean folder that you can put your papers, that you can put your materials in. It'll help keep you organized and give you that confidence. The next idea in projecting professionalism is to be you, to just be yourself, be authentic and be truthful. As we saw with our young man, if you don't have a specific skill set, say so, but then follow it up with a willingness to learn and grow. Talk about your flexibility and wanting to learn that skill. This isn't a negative. It shows that you're trustworthy about who you are, and it adds and shows your drive and your willingness to further yourself by being a lifetime learner, by wanting to grow and learn more in the position. You've got a lot to bring to the table. And even if it's not in this field, make sure you can eloquently specifically talk about specific experiences that you have had in the past that can make you an active learner in this situation. It's exhausting to try to be someone that you're not. So shine as only you can. Another big way to be you with truthfulness is also to present yourself again in that positive light without negativity. Avoid speaking negatively about past experiences, past employers, coworkers, or even yourself. We've all had some rough work experiences out there. Some of us may have genuinely been wronged or mistreated in a work environment by a supervisor, by a fellow coworker. But let me say this in all sincerity, an interview is not the time or place to air those hurts. There's time to heal from that, and there's some things that you can learn and grow from that, but an interview is not the place to do that. Make sure that you're projecting yourself with truthfulness, with honesty, and with positivity. Ditch that negativity. Stay positive, keep your eye on the prize because there's a new chapter and a new opportunity right there in that view. So to review, in talking about yourself, show confidence. Make sure you walk in with your head held high, a smile on your face, knowing what skills you bring to the table, knowing what areas you're willing to learn and grow from, and present that in a positive light. Turn those negatives into positives. If you haven't had a specific experience, speak specifically about the skills and talents that you do have and how you can turn those in. Don't bring up old hurt and old baggage. Focus on what you can do and what you're looking forward to about the position and what you're anxious to learn. Now, a lot of people say, okay, well, I can do that. I can present my best self. I can, dress the part. I can walk in with confidence, but I just get thrown with all those questions. So what about those questions? The biggest suggestion I can give about that is to do your homework. So we're going to go over some practice questions today to ready yourself to answer those questions, but also some key questions that you can ask to show that you really did your homework. Because learning about the company, about the job description, and how you might be the best fit is the best thing you can do, not only to build confidence in going into those questions, knowing that nothing's going to throw you off because you did come prepared, but then also having good, healthy questions to ask because you know about the company, you know about what they're looking for and what they're asking for. So some common questions to expect. Interviewers are almost always going to ask, what's your background? What are your qualifications? Why this job? Be prepared to talk about experiences you've had and how, based on the homework you've done about the position, talk about how those experiences can fit that specific job requirement. Be able to talk about, if you're asked, well, why this job? Why this company? What do you like about the company? Have some specific answers for that. Almost every company that you'll go into, any work environment, will have a website. You'll be able to learn something about their core values, about their mission statement, about their vision statement. And boy, a lot of people miss this. And so you will really stand out as someone in an interview if you go in knowing some facts about that company, knowing what they stand for, knowing what's important to them, and you can help to position yourself as an ideal candidate. So you also need to be able to ask some questions. Part of that being an active listener is saying, knowing that the interviewer at some point will say, well, what questions do you have? Come prepared to ask some questions, because asking those questions doesn't mean that you're not prepared to go into the interview. Actually, they show the opposite. You can say things like, well, actually, I noticed that your company has a commitment to this service organization outside of their mission. Talk to me about that. I've noticed that your company has a continuing education program where I can put in some professional development hours and learn more about advancing in the company. Can you tell me more about that? All of these things are based on your homework. They all show that you've actively been listening to what the interviewer has said in the context of the interviewer itself, and that you've also done the preparation. And remember, that preparation is half the battle. We've titled this session Day One to the Day to Day, because it's not enough just to walk in the door and make that good, solid first impression. After that, you got to keep it up. You got to show that you are somebody that is worth that investment in that hire. And again, the best way is to be positive. Negativity, problems getting along with other people, all of those things slow down progress. And employers just don't want that. They want to enter into the day with people that can take on the day as is with a positive attitude. So display that. Be professional. Employers want someone that's going to represent them, their company, their brand, all of these things well, especially if you're in a customer service business. They want their people to best represent their name. So be professional when you go into an interview, and then keep it up. And then here's another one. Just be flexible. You will show that you are a coworker worth betting on if you are somebody that, I'm not telling anybody to be a doormat or to get walked all over, but to show, that you can be flexible if the job position does require extra outside learning, if there is a learning curve that's there because you haven't had an experience in this particular field. Show that you're willing to put in the extra mile. Show that you're willing to be flexible. Making your mark from day one and every day after will make you an employee worth the investment. And you might be able to see that what you thought was just going to be a job could be a really profitable and enjoyable career for you. We want to help you every step of the way. Again, here on the Student Success Team, we want to equip you not only with those skills that you need to obtain your high school equivalency credential, but also help you with the skills that you need to go forward in your job market and in that job search and in that career path. Your success is our goal, and we're here for you. That's my email here at the company. You can always reach out to me, jen@essentialed.com, or you can give us a call at Student Help at 1-800-460-8150. We are here to help in any way we can. We hope this has been helpful for you today. We hope it's been encouraging. Be your best self. You have a lot to bring to the table. Package it well, talk about it well, do your homework, and you really can make an incredible first impression. We hope to see you again on another coaching session soon.